Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mohit Sharma. I am regional head of Haryana, and today we are here for our GIRLSCRIPT Regional Summit, Haryana, and it is our third session. That is Angular for students, and we have Mr. Dhananjay Kumar with us, who is a Google developer expert, and he is an independent trainer and a consultant from India. He has also a very well-known published author. He is a very published author. Uh, he is also a well-known speaker, and he is 10-time winner of Microsoft MVP award. He is founder of Greet 97, which trains developer on different technologies so that they can be job ready and organize. He also organized India's largest Angular conference of India, NG India. I remember uh, it was like around November last year. Okay, so yeah, you will have a great experience, and we have Mr. Dhananjay Kumar. So over to you, Dhananjay sir.
Thank you so much, Mohit, for the great introduction. Uh, and thank you so much for the whole Girl Script team. You folks are doing a really great job enabling students all across the India. So that is something very good. Uh, all right. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my talk where we are going to learn Angular. And since this talk is for students, so here I am assuming that you do not know anything in Angular. You really don't need to know need to have any background. And we would in next 1 hour follow very step by step approach to understand how Angular works and to write a very small app. And the whole purpose of this 1 hour talk is to show you a path that when you go back, you can start looking into Angular. You can start understanding where to go in on the path of Angular, and you should able to ask relevant questions in Angular. So my name is Dhananjay Kumar, and we are not going to have any slides or anything. We are going to learn everything by writing code. I understand all of you know, all of you or most of you are engineers or MCA or in your graduation. So we would learn every concepts which we are planning to learn today by writing codes and looking into the codes. But before that, why you should learn Angular? You should learn Angular because Angular is one of the most popular framework to create single page application, to create web application. If you do not understand what is single page application, do not worry about that at this point of time. But just to give you a perspective that all these popular framework you have heard of, like React and Angular, they are used to create a single page application for most of the time. Of course, you can use them to create another kind of app, for example, mobile apps and desktop apps, but mainly they are used to create single page application web apps. Now, if you have ever used Indian Railway website, that website is built in Angular. If you have used gmail.com, that is built in Angular. So let us get it started step by step, one step at a time. So how to get it started with Angular? So you need a laptop. Once you have a laptop, you need to make sure that on your laptop Node.js is installed. So first you got to install Node.js. And how do you check whether Node.js is installed on your machine or not? Here I am using Windows machine. For Mac, it a little bit different steps or command would be there, but approach should be same. So here I would say Node V, and it gives me some version. It means Node.js is installed on my machine. If it is not installed on your machine, what you got to do, you should go and install it from node.js.org. Choose your operating system, follow the steps, and you should be able to install that. Once you have Node.js installed on your machine, that is step one to start working with Angular. Step one is that you have to install Node.js. Once that is installed, you need to install Angular CLI. Now, what is Angular CLI? CLI stands for Common Language Interface. So to create an Angular application, you need to do many steps. You need to configure many things. And if I put that in technical words, configure, for example, TypeScript compiler, you need to configure test engines, you need to configure bundler, module, loader, etc. If you're an expert JavaScript developer, you can do that manually. That would take some time. But what Angular team has done, it has given us a CLI which can be used to quickly scaffold an application, quickly generate component, and quickly build your application, quickly deploy it, and all that. So you should definitely use Angular CLI. And to install Angular CLI, first you need to install Node.js. Once you have installed that, go to cli.angular.io, and you need to follow this step in pm install. And G stands for you are installing it globally, means that would be available to you throughout your system, and Angular CLI. So you need to install Angular CLI by this command. On my machine, it is already installed, so I'm not going to install it again. So second you need to do is you need to install Angular CLI like this. Once it is successfully installed, how do you check whether Angular CLI is installed or not? You'll say ng version. By running this command ng version, you should get something like this: Angular CLI version. It says that version number is 9, Node.js version is that, and then other information. It means on my machine, Angular CLI version 9 is installed. All right, so this is there. Once that is done, you need to run ng version to check whether Angular CLI is installed or not, and for whether Node is installed or not, you need to run the command node v. All right, so once these two things are installed, you can use any IDE of your choice to do the development. You can use any IDE. For example, you can do the whole development in Sublime Text. You can do that in WebStorm. But right now, VS Code is very popular, and it is free to use, and it can be installed on Mac and on Windows and on Linux. So use VS Code, and here I'm using VS Code, and so once and install VS Code for the development. So these three things you have to install to get it started with Angular on your machine. However, there is an easier option. Let us say that you don't want to install all these things on your machine, but you want to get it started with Angular, and just quickly we want to start learning. In that case, you go to stackbliz.com, and this is a online code editor, and on the StackBliz you have different different project template available here. To get it started with Angular, just click on Angular, and it will create a project for you, and you can do the whole development in the browser itself. So that is also, you can start with doing your development and learning if you really do not want to set up your local development machine. All right, great. So so far what you have learned, how to set up your development machine. To set up your development machine, you need to follow these steps, or you can, instead of that, you can use stackbliz.com, and StackBliz allow you to do development in the browser itself. But yes, when you go little deep and start doing a bigger application, it is good to have your development machine set up locally. Okay, all right. So once Angular is set up, either using these option or using the StackBliz, you decided to use that. Next, how to create your new application in StackBliz? It has already created for you when you selected that option. Here, this is a new project, new application created for you. But locally, to create new application, what you got to do, once everything is done, create new app. And to do that, the command is ng new your app name. So whatever is your app name, you should pass here, like my awesome app name, my next $1 million app, or whatever you wish to. The command is ng. So ng in Angular, ng is a short form of Angular. Ng new and your app name, it should create a new app for you. So let us go ahead and quickly create a new app here. So we'll say ng new GirlScript app. So when you run that command, and already on my machine, this Angular CLI is installed, so this command is working fine. If that command does not work, make sure and that your Angular CLI is installed. Go and cross check that. Now it is asking me that would you like to add Angular routing. Now what is routing? Routing means when you click on something or when you change the URL, you should be able to go from one view to another view, and for that you need routing. Do you want to add that? You say yes. If you do not want to add that, say no. Let's say that I'm saying okay, go ahead and add that. Yes. Then it is asking me that what is going to be my style sheet format, whether I'm going to use CSS or I'm going to use SCSS, SAS list, whatever is option you want, you can choose from here and then press enter. CSS. Now it will do certain things. Let it do. What I have done, I have already created one Angular app here called product app, just to save time. Now what exactly that command is doing, first let me explain you that. So here when you do ng new, what it does two tasks for you. Task one, it creates required files, and then task two installs the dependencies. These are the two tasks done by ng new, and also task 3, configure the app. So here what I have done, I created this product app, and this product app is open. Here it is on your screen. This is the product app. Now let us go ahead and start writing our first application. So what happening that when you run that command, it would create many files for you, but you should focus on src folder, and inside src folder focus on the app folder. Okay, every JavaScript application, whether it's React app or whether it's Node.js app or whether it's Angular app, they have dependencies on various modules and various libraries. So on which modules and on which libraries your application has dependencies, that information lies in this file called package.json. So you see that this file is created by ng new, and here you can see that there is something called dependencies in line number 13, and then it has a name of many libraries or modules, and also it has dev dependencies. So difference between dependencies and dev dependencies are these libraries you need, which are the part of dependencies property, you need them for the development and you need them for the production as well. So when you deploy this application, Angular application, these libraries should go there as well. But dev dependencies, you only need them for the development. Those would not go, those are not required on the production server. So here all these has been created by ng new command. And when you run npm install command, you might, I'm very sure all of you might have used npm install. So when you do npm install, what npm install does, it comes to this package.json file. So let's say you run npm install inside folder product app. What npm install will do, it will come and look for this package.json file, and in the package.json file it will look for all these dependencies and dev dependencies and install them from npm repository. And once they are installed, all of them would get installed inside a folder called node modules. So here you see that all those required things are installed inside node modules, and all these steps are done by ng new command. Okay, now and it has created a folder structure and everything. In that, you are going to write your application inside src subfolder inside that app folder. In the app folder, you see that it has created a basic, it has scaffolded basic files and they are app module, app component, app routing. Now, what is module? What is component? What is routing? Uh, I'm coming to that, but let's start with the component. What is component in Angular? So let us see that we are running this application. Suppose this is an Angular application, for example. Let's say that cli.angular.io is written in Angular. So whatever you see here, whatever your user would see on your website, on your web application, is a component. So maybe this red background div is a component. Maybe this header is a component. Maybe this footer is a component. So whatever your user will see in an Angular application is a component. So what is a component? Component is the custom controls, is the custom thing which you will create, and your user would see that and interact with your application using the component. Now, when you create a component, what component does? It creates a kind of new control. You can say that. You can use the term element. You can do anything. And whatever your users see, you just see and interact with, is a component. So for example, you are creating, there's a button. So the button where users should click. So that button would be part of a component. All right. Now component is combination of three things. It is combination of a TypeScript file, a CSS file, and a HTML file. So whenever you create a component, that would have these three section: a TypeScript, a CSS, and HTML. And your Angular application can have any number of components. It can have thousands of components, but it must have one main component, or the component which would start the whole application. So what Angular has done, what Angular CLI has done here, it has created one component for you called app component. And how you create a component? Let's say that if I want to create a product component, I would say product.component.ts. So here you see that for the app component, this is the TypeScript file, this is the HTML file, and this is the CSS file. And then the TypeScript file, you write your all code. It's nothing but a normal class. And here, let's say that we'll say that product app. And it says that for this app component, template is in app.component.html, and the CSS is in app.component.css. All right, now let's go to this app component.html, and whatever is there, delete that. And we say div class container, and let's say give some margin, and here I'm saying h1, and here you want to display the value of this title property. And how do you do that? You take this title property and put it inside this syntax, double curly braces. This is called data binding. I'm coming to that in a bit. So here I'm saying h1, show that title, and then here you can say class Okay, so far what I have done, I just have one data, one property in the component class, and we are displaying that in HTML. And for that, we are using certain types of syntax. What is that? I'm coming to that in a bit. All right. And so this is one component. We have some code inside that. Now every component should be part of a module as of now. So like how you create a C function, and each C function, if you want to give it to someone else, that should be part of a header file. In the same way, here this app component is part of a module. Module is nothing but a collection of components and services and all those kind of things. Again, your Angular application can have any number of modules, but it should have one main module, and that main module is created right here by Angular CLI. And if you look into this module, here it says that bootstrap the app component, the component which we created right now. So you may have other components here. Let's say that you have product component. But out of those two components, you want to make app component as the starting component, so you'll pass it here in the bootstrap. Okay. Now let's see that how we can run this. So to run that, we'll say ng serve. That's the command, Angular CLI command to run an Angular application. And it will compile your Angular project, and then it will host that on localhost port 4200. First time it will take some time to compile. So here you can see that how it is compiling, and when you go deeper into the Angular, you would understand what is ESM 2015, what is ECH 2015, and all that thing. You understand this runtime.js and style.js and all. Today we are not going into that. All right, so it says that compiled successfully. So let's go to the browser and here say localhost 4200, and you see that our product app is listed here. Okay, so now take a step back. We just have one component. What I told you, that what your user will see is the component. So you remember we created a app component, and that is being displayed in my application. Okay, now how it works, let's go to the go in a backward manner. So here in your project, there is something called index.html. If you look at this index.html, it looks like a normal HTML meta tag, title tag base, and some CDN of Bootstrap CSS, but it has something in line number 12, app root. This is not something from HTML. It's not table, it's not button. This app root looks like we have created something. Okay, so here you see this app root. All right, so what happens that first this index.html will be downloaded, and that app root now your browser is detecting, and your browser would go to main.ts. There's something called main.ts file. In main.ts file, ignore all code, but look at here in line number 11. It says that, hey, bootstrap module, app module for me. All right, so first index.html got loaded. It has app root written there. From there, it would come to main.ts. In the main.ts, it says that bootstrap app module for me. Okay, now from here, go to app module. And here is the app module, only one module which we create, which is so far part of our application. And in the app module, if you come here, it has bootstrap app component. Right now, we have only one component. So right click, and if you go to the definition of app component, you'd find that the selector for app component is app root. It means the main component of your application is starting the application, and this app root was mentioned in index.html right here, and in this way your application is starting. So this is how Angular CLI has configured your application. Now what is component? Let's go here and understand what is component. Component is something which your users see. Component creates a new element on the browser in the DOM. So here, if you go here and say that product app inspect, and you can see that a new app root is created in the browser. Means what component does, it creates a new control or element for you. Okay. So this was basic. You understood how to so far you learned how to configure an Angular application. What is the flow of that, and what flow I just explained you. When you go deeper into Angular, you would understand more, and it is much beyond that. So I just try to give you a very high level flow from index.html to main.ts to app module to app component, and so far our application has one component and one module. Keep in mind your application can have any number of components, but how Angular will spin them up, the flow which I just explained you. It can have any number of module, but how Angular would take them, the way I just explained you. All right, so far so good. Now learn something very important for Angular, and that is called data binding. And here you would understand that. So what is data binding? So whenever you start learning Angular, this is the first chapter you learn, data binding. Now, data binding is something is not specific to Angular. Data binding is there in every framework. Wherever you have a code behind and a view, you have data binding. Code behind in our case is TypeScript file, and view in our case is that HTML. All right, which is also known as template. So Angular gives us three types of data binding. The first type of data binding in that the data goes from TypeScript to HTML to template, and you display the data. Okay, so this is called one-way data binding, and you use the double curly braces for that. It is also called one-way data binding or interpolation. What happens in interpolation? You just display data from TypeScript file to the template. And what we are doing here, we were doing that right here. Is title to display that. We are using interpolation in this way. If you have, let's say that product object, it has title set to pain and price set to 100. Now you want to display this product object on the view. You should use interpolation, and for that, let's say we will go here and say P double curly braces product dot title. So this is your title, and then price product dot price. So what we are doing, we are using that object and the property, and then using interpolation to display the data. And interpolation is used to display the data. It is a one-way data binding. The data flows from TypeScript to HTML. So data flows from here to here. And if you run this, here you have title and price printed from TypeScript to your view. So this is first type of data binding. It is called interpolation. The second type of data binding is, again, data flows from your TypeScript to template, but here you don't display the data. What you do instead of displaying data, you set property or attribute of elements or controls. So button is an element, or you can call it control. So what you do, you don't display it, but instead of that, you set the property or attribute of a particular control. So for example, you would not display it. Instead of that, you'll set height of the button, you'll set width of the button. And for that, you can use, and this is called, if you do that, this is called property binding. And the syntax for this is a square bracket. Let's see that how we can do that. So let's say that here I have one height, and that is 100, and width, that is, let's say, 200. Okay, so we have these two data in our TypeScript, and here I have a button called click me. Okay, so if I say that, if I use interpolation and say height, what would happen? That would be displayed there. So right now you see that this 100 is there, and then click me button is there. But we do not want to display that height. We want to set height of this button. And for that, we would use property binding, and you can use that in a square bracket style dot height dot px equal to height. In the same way, you can set style dot width dot px is equal to width. Perfect. So you see that now that height and width is setting the height and width of button instead of displaying that data. And we are here and you see that height and width of button has been changed. So this is called property binding. The third type of binding is here your user will perform some action on the template. So for example, your user will click on this button, and on click of that button you want to call a function in the TypeScript. So there's a function in TypeScript and user performs an action to raise an event. And when I say action means button click and key press and those kind of thing. And this is called event binding. And in this data, the information flows from template to TypeScript. And the syntax for that is a small bracket. Let's say that we have a function here in our application. And that function is say hello. And right now this function does nothing but an alert. We're saying hello everyone. Now what you want that when user clicks on this button, you want to call this function say hello. So you need to use event binding, and for that use the syntax small bracket and click equal to, and then here you can pass the function say hello. Now here you can see that we are here, click me, and you are able to call that function. So what you see displayed here, product app and this title pane price 100, this is due to interpolation. The height and width of this button is set due to property binding. And when you click on this, you get you are calling a functionality, executing a functionality that is due to event binding. So these are the three types of binding in Angular. You always need to, this is the first lesson for every beginners in Angular after setting up, that you need to know data bindings. They are interpolation, property binding, and event binding. That's it. Now when you combine these two, so let's say that you have data flowing in both directions. And for that, what you need to do, you need to combine event binding plus property binding. Property binding plus event binding. So when you do that, the syntax becomes something like this. And this is known as banana in the box syntax. And this is used to create two-way data binding. Okay, and Angular has given you a default two-way data binding called ng model. But keep in mind that when someone is, if you're appearing for an interview in a startup or something, tell them that, hey, there are only three types of data bindings, interpolation, event, and property. But there is two-way data binding also, which is actually internally combination of property binding and event binding. If required, we can create our own two-way data binding. But Angular has given us one as such, that is called ng model, when we put it inside a banana in the box syntax. Now let's see that how we can use ng model. So for that, here, let's say that you have one input type equal to text. All right, and here we'll say placeholder. Enter name. Okay, and below you have h3, and here you say okay, and in the app component right here, let's say that we have one property called name, and that is string. And what we want, that whatever user enter here, we want to display that in that h3. So we'll say hello. So we'll use interpolation and put it name here because we need to display that. But what user enter in this input type text, we want to set that in the name property. So for that, what we would do here, we would say two-way data binding ng model equal to name. All right, now in this ng model is part of a module called forms module. So how in language C, what you do that if you need to use a library from function from math.h, you first include that in your C program. In the same way, this ng model is part of import. It is part of forms module. So I'll import that. Okay, so when you import a module, when you want to use an external module, first you need to import that, and then you need to pass that in the imports array of that main module. In this case, app module. So you got to first import and then pass it. Why we are doing it? Because definition, what ng module does, that is written inside forms module. Okay, so we are here, and let's run it again. ng serve. Let's see that if we have done any mistake here. Placeholder enter name, ng model equal to name. All right, input type text, h3 class text warning, hello name. Okay, so here it has compiled successfully. Now let's go back here, and you see that I say enter name, and let's say that I type here Mohit. In the bottom, you can see that Mohit is there. So what is happening? It is a two-way data binding. As soon as you are writing something here, that name property is getting that on the key press event, and then you are using that using the interpolation right here in hello Mohit Sharma. So this is the fundamental, of very fundamental of Angular you need to know when you start working with Angular. This is the first thing everyone should know, that data binding is in Angular, that you need to definitely know when you go further. Interpolation to display the data, property binding to set the property of Angular, property of HTML DOM elements such as height, width, and such that. Event binding to capture an event, capture a user of actions such as click, key press, and call a functionality in the TypeScript class. And then two-way data binding you just saw in the demo. All right, so once we have this data here, we understand these bindings, let us talk about something called directives. So in Angular, there are three types of directives. One is called structure directive. Another is called attribute directives. And then third is called component. So component is actually type of a directive. Now you know what component does. It creates a new element on the DOM. When I say DOM, means this is a DOM. Okay, what you see, this is a DOM. What was rendered here, document object model. So what component does, it creates a new element. It has HTML, it has TypeScript, it has CSS. Now what a structure directive does, it changes the structure of element. So it does not create a new element, it changes the structure of element. What does it mean? That if you apply a structure directive on an element, it may repeat that element many times, or it may hide an element, it may show an element, and those kind of things. And Angular has given us many structure directives, and to identify structure directives, they start with star. So we can say star ng for, star ng if. What they do is, for example, star ng for, it will repeat like a for loop and repeat that element. Star ng if is like if else something. If the condition of ng if is true, then it will display that. If it is not true, it will not display that. So that is the structure directives. Attribute directives, what it does, it changes the attribute of HTML element. For example, color, height, width, and all those kind of things. So ng class, and it starts with ng. given to us by Angular. You can use attribute directives to change the attribute, or you can create custom attribute directives as well, which we will not cover today. But most of the time you would be creating custom attribute directive. Most of the time you would be using the structure directive given to us from the Angular, which is part of the Angular framework, and component, of course, you have been creating each time. So now let's see that what I mean by star ng if structure directive. And keep in mind, structure directives, attribute directives, and component. Component is also a type of directive. So let's say that I have this div I'll container, and let me put all these gentlemen inside a div here. So I have taken this and putting it here. Okay. And one thing what I'll do, I'll remove this button from here and put it outside. Okay, so here is a div, and in that div you are displaying that title, then you are displaying that two-way data binding and all. So now let's go ahead and run this. So it looks like that's the button, title, and everything is there. All right, now what I'm going to do, here I'll get rid of this style height and all, and I'll just say class button and then button danger. All right, and then I'll put this gentleman in a class row. All right, so such that everything looks a little bit better. So now it looks like this, and we can say char, and can we just put this div as column md6 and take this from here and put it here, get rid of this p, and also we'll say div class column md6, and then take these two and put it here. I'm just putting some CSS so that it looks better. Okay, and type placeholder input name and say class form control. All right, so now if we go and run this, it looks like this. We have a click me, and then this is our title. It is displaying enter name, and let's say India. So hello India, that is there. Now let's say this click me guy is actually show data. So I have put that show data there, and here we would say show data. All right, and take this function from show data and go to app component and show data. And let's say that we have one function is that there's a property called give us any name. Let's say that name is show product div, and by default the value is false. Okay, so here we are saying show product div, by default that is false. But in this show data function, what we would say, we'll say this dot show product div is equal to whatever is the value, this dot show product div. All right, so if it is true, it would make it false. If it is false, it would make it true. And then take this show product div from here and go to app component, and for this div we'll say star ng if equal to, so that only if this value is true. So this div only if the value of show product div is true. And here I'm teaching you that how you can work with a structure directives. And we are here. You see that show data, when we click on this, then this div is displayed, and again we click, that is gone, then again we click, it is displayed, again we click, this is gone. All right, so in this way it shows that show data, and if you want to change that to hide data and all, you can do that. But what I'm trying to show you that how a structured directive works in Angular. It displays it changes the structure of an element, and what you see in front of you is nothing but a component. All right, so next what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an application. You understood data binding, you understood so far directives, structure, and attribute and component, and how to set up environment and everything. So next what let us do, go to app component.ts, and whatever is here, let's get rid of that. Okay, and call it product app. And then in app.component.html, now I don't need them, so I'll just get rid of that. And probably here I'll say RNBR, and then here I'm saying beef class row, and here we display some data. Okay, so we are here, and right now our application should look like this. It has nothing, product app. Okay, next what I'm going to do, my friend, that let's say that in our application there is a data, and the data is, the data would come from the server and API in form of JSON. Here, for to make it simple, I'm just hard coding it and keeping it. So here I'm saying that I have a data called get products, and what this data is doing, that data has product ID, product name, product code, release date, and I have taken this data from very respected Devra Kurata ma'am sample. All right, so here this data is here, and then this data returns us an array of type iProduct. So let us go ahead and create that iProduct. For that, in this application, here we would say iProduct.ts, and this iProduct.ts is nothing but an interface, and it is having all those properties here. Okay, so export interface iProduct, and here you have the data iProduct. Right. Now, what happens that every component, when you render them, it has certain life cycle hooks. Life cycle hooks means certain functions which would be called throughout the life cycle of a component. So every component has constructor. This constructor is called when this component is getting constructed. Then also it has implements on init. It has an on init lifecycle hook, and whenever you make a call to an API or call a service, you should always write that code inside ng on init. Ng on init gets called after constructor, and it is to initialize data of your application. I'm putting it roughly, it is much more than that, but as of now that is sufficient. Okay, and what I'm going to do here, I would create a property called products, and type of that is iProduct array, and by default it is initialized to a empty array. All right, so here let's say that this dot products is equal to this dot get products, and then you say console dot log, and here we would say is dot products. All right, so now just we are bringing that data and displaying that in console. So go back and run this here, again run this, and press F12, and you see that that array 5 that is available to you right here. Okay, now what we need to do, we need to display this data such that our user can see that. So for that, we have data in these dot products, we need to display that. For that, on app component on your HTML, let's go ahead and display that using a table. So here we would say table class table, and this has a head section, and this is going to have a body section. So here we would say the body. All right, And in the T head section, let's say that we are saying these things: ID, product, code, available price, star rating. And in the T body, what we'll do, we will say that hey, TR, okay, and you want to display that, let's say that here you want to display this product ID. So you taken that product ID from here, and to display you need to use interpolations. You say product ID. In the same way, to display product price, TD, and you'll take a product name from here, product name. Now you know that we want to repeat this TR, this row, as many times as the number of elements in this product's array, right? The 5 times in this case. So what we would do, we would use another structure directive here called star ng for equal to, let's say, let, and this is the syntax, we would say let product of products. This products is an array name, array which we just created on the TypeScript, and this product is your variable name. You can give anything here, ABC, anything. So I am saying here PRODUCT product. Now this product ID is part of this product. So product.product ID, product.product name. Now let's go ahead and run this application. And if you run this, get rid of this class table. I'm missing something. Table class table T head. Oh, this should be part of a TR. And from here, this T head would be the part of a TR. All right, so this is compiled successfully, and here you see that ID and product is listed. We are using a star ng for that structure directive to repeat all the data in the loop, and then we are using interpolation. Nothing fancy so far, and you are getting data from an array and displaying it. In the same way, let's go ahead once we have this ID and product name. Next, what we want to display other fields. So here I'm saying display product code, release date, price, and star rating. Now what you might be wondering, that what is this date and currency? As of now, just get rid of that. I would come to that in a bit. Okay, so here we are with all the field, and you see that data is being displayed in the table. Now we have one more field, and that is right here. That is your image. So we have image also. And how we can display that? We will take this TD, and let's say that product.product ID and then image URL. So here if we say image URL in the interpolation, you know what would happen. You'll get the here you would get that image URL. We don't want to display image URL. Instead of that, we want to display the image. And for that, what we would do, instead of this interpolation, we first use image tag, and in this image tag, what we would say that set the src of this image using the property binding, and here we are saying product dot image URL. So now you understand what is purpose of property binding, that instead of displaying, you have to set property, and here we are setting in source of image using a square bracket src and product.image URL. Now let's go and run this. To run this, our application looks like this, because of course those images are big. So how we can go ahead and change that, and here let's say that we create one more th as of now. All right, so how we can do, we can set height and width here, and for that in the application in the TypeScript, let's say we have two properties, and those properties are image width and image margin. And in the app component, again, we can go and set them. And you've already seen that a style dot height and style dot margin. And how I can do that, I'll take this style dot width dot px and style dot margin dot px, and right here I'll say okay. So once again, what I'm doing, I'm using property binding to set the image src. Then I'm using property binding to set image width and margin. These values are coming from the TypeScript. And let's go and now run this. And here you see that your application, which has the application has the image and ID and all. Let's see that why it is not coming where it should come. So let's first fix that. Here, first we need th for the image, then for the ID, then for the product name, then for the code, then for the release date, then for the price, then for the star rating. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it should look good. And we are here. Yeah, it looks good. Now we have this ID, product, star rating here. You can go and apply different classes. Here, let's say that you say table dark, and you should have a dark table here displaying that image and all. Anyway, now let's say that what we want here in the first th, we want a button. And we have already seen this demo, but I'm just showing you again. And here what we want, that we should be able to display that there should be a button which would by clicking on that, user would decide whether user wants to see image or not. So for that, I'm saying class btn danger. Okay, and then it has click. Let's say show image function. And here in the show image function, what we will do, or instead of show image, let's call it toggle image. And then we'll create a function in the component right here. Okay, and then we have, let's have a property called show image. And as we did earlier, here we'll say that this dot show image is equal to, just negate that, this dot show image. Okay, and we would display the image only if this show image is true. So for that, in the image here, we are displaying this image, and we would say display this image star ng if only if this value of show image is true. So right here, show image and button, and say show image. Okay, let's go and run this. So by default, that image is not displayed. When you click on show image button, it is displaying, and then when you again click, it's gone. Now, even if right now show image is good, but even if see image is displayed here, it is showing us show image as the text of the button. Let's say that we want to now change it to hide image, and how easy it is to Angular. In Angular, let us see that. So here you have this show image thing. What would you do here? Instead of that show image hard coding, here we would say that interpolation, and interpolation take for property show image. If this value is true, then display hide, or display show. And of course, after that, we have image. All right, so if it is true, then hide would be displayed. If it is false, then show would be displayed. And right now we heard here is saying show image, hide image. See that text has been changed. show image, hide image. What I'm trying to teach you here is that how easy it is in Angular to achieve even this kind of functionalities. We just used structured directive and data binding, nothing fancy so far, and you have a kind of application in front of you which you see. Let's go ahead and add one more functionality in this app. What if user wants to search, wants to filter this? So for that, you need to understand a concept of pipe. What pipe does? So in Angular, there is something called pipe. Pipe takes an input and it gives you an output. So and it does not change the underlying data source. All right, so what it does, it only changes the output on the view. The underlying data source would not be changed. That is called pipe in Angular. Pipe are just a function, will take an input and it will transform the input to a output without changing the underlying data source. Now let's say that right now our this product is displayed in a capital small letter, because if you look at the data here, data is like that: leaf lake and garden cart. What if now our manager is asking us, our customer is asking us to display this product in uppercase, all uppercase? How would you do that? So Angular has provided you many default pipe which you can use for those purposes. So here I can say product name and this pipe, and let's say uppercase. And this pipe is provided to us by Angular. There are many pipe which you can go and learn. Now what would happen, it will not change the underlying data source, but in display only, now this product name would be in uppercase. All right, so let's go here and see this. You see that you have this in uppercase everything, but if you press F12 and go to array and check that, here it is not uppercase, it is simple, like it is not in the sorry, product name, it is not in the uppercase, it is just as it was before. All right, so this is what purpose of pipe. You can go and apply. There are many pipe you can go and apply. For example, here if you look at the price does not have dollar or Indian rupees. What is there? So Angular has given you a pipe called currency. Let's go here and apply here CURRENC, currency. And for date you can apply here date. All right, so here you see that those things would be changed now. Here you have dollar, the date format has been changed, and in this pipe they take input parameters. If you pass them, then instead of dollar it would be Indian rupees and or pound or and all that. So here you see that you have a functioning app which is using data binding, which is using a structured directive, which is using interpolation, attribute directives, and event binding and inbuilt pipe in front of you. Now it may happen that sometimes you do not have like Angular has provided you many pipes, but those pipes are not able to fulfill your business requirement. In that case, you got to create your own pipe. For example, let us say that our manager is back and our customer wants something like this. So let's say that what our customer wants, that okay, so suppose here we have one more div, and in this div there is something called search products, class form control, type text, ng model search text, and we would go and create a property called search text here. All right, so right now what is happening, that our Angular application has a search product, and when user click on this, let's say user click and it should be able to search the data, search the table. Now how would you do that? For that you can create a custom pipe for searching purpose. And how you create a custom pipe? For that there is a Angular CLI command. Here we can say ng g p, ng g for generate, p for pipe, and and you can give any name to the pipe. We want to create product search pipe. So here I would say ngg pipe pro product search search. So it has created, if you look at your screen, product search.pipe.ts ng serve. Let's run it again. So here a pipe is created for us called product search pipe.ts. All right. And if you look at here in app.module.ts, by that command, it is already imported and it is already part of your declaration array. So if you are manually creating it, make sure that you are importing it and passing it as part of your declaration array. All right. And now in this pipe, let's write code. So what I'm going to do, we'll say transform, and the value which we are getting from here, the value we are getting is this array. We need to transform, we need to find result in this array. So we'll say value is I product array. Okay. And then our argument is going to be a string, because you saw that in the text box, user would enter a string and it will return a array of I product. Okay. Now we'll check here. We'll say that if, and here we are writing simple JavaScript code. We'll check here if arguments is not passed, then just return the whole value. All right. And if it is passed, then return value dot filter. We just, and this filter method is a array method. Arrays, JavaScript arrays filter method, and we would apply certain filter. If you don't know what is filter, you can find that on my blog, or there are many such blog you may find on the internet. So here, let me go and just say return value.filter item.product name to lowercase. If it has the product name and whatever arguments we are passing, if they are matching, then return that. If they are not matching, don't return that particular product name. So this is a pure JavaScript logic we are writing here. And next, what we can apply and how we can use this pipe there. To use that pipe, let's go to again our HTML, and there you would say, so your pipe name is product search. Take this from here, go to app component HTML, and here we would say pipe product search, and then you can pass the text. You can pass the text, and your text is this search text. All right. And here we say search text. Now let's go and run this. Let's run this again. So we created a pipe to filter that array and display that to you. And right now we are here running this. Show image is showing, let's say, leaf. You see that it is a hammer. It is filtering that. Saw, it is filtering that. And for all of these functionalities, I have just used data binding and interpolation and pipe, and a kind of full-fledged app is in front of you. That is the power of Angular. This source code I would put on my GitHub. You can get it from there, and you can reach out to me if you want to know more about it. As in the introduction, he said that my name is DHANANJAY Kumar. I blog at debugmode.net, and I am. You can reach out to me. My blog is debugmode.net. You can reach out to me on email address debugmode@outlook.com, and on Twitter I am debug_mode. I'm a Microsoft MVP, a GDE, and founder of one of the largest Angular conference in the world called NG India, and we are very proud of NG India and the Geek 97 community. We keep teaching students and professionals, and have been doing that for more than 10 years now. And yes, as Mohit said, that I write a lot. You can find all these on debugmode.net, and you can find all this information on even our YouTube channel, which is Geek 97. Please subscribe to that this Geek 97 YouTube channel, and you will find all these videos there. What is left in Angular which you can go and start learning? You can learn about services, you can learn more about routings, and how to make an API call. If even if you understand these three, besides what we have learned today, as a student, as a beginner, it is good for you to go and start contributing to any Angular project. From where you can learn Angular? You can learn Angular from Angular.io. You can learn Angular from uh, if you are interested, you send me an email. I have written a book on Angular. I can provide you that ebook, and you can learn from there. Or if you want to buy that, you can get it from Amazon. uh, that book name is Angular Essential, and this is the number one best-selling Angular book in India on Amazon.in. And I'm sorry for the shameless plug-in of my book. But if you want it, I can give you ebook just like that. Just ping me, and I'll give it to you. All right. So this is what all I have for today. I hope it was useful. Rewatch the video. If you have any queries, reach out to me on debugmode@outlook.com or debug_mode. If you want me to speak in your events, in your college, and anywhere, I'm always available to help the community. Thank you so much, everyone. Once again, thank you so much, Team Girls Skip. You folks are doing amazing work. And over to you, Mohit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for your time. And it was really an interactive session. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you. So I'm going offline now. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Hello, guys. We are having a Kahoot session, Kahoot quiz now. Over to you, Tritika. Please share your screen. And yes,
Hi, am I audible?
yes, you are. You are.
Okay, hi guys, this is Pratika. I'm a second year CSE student, and right now I'm in a core team member of GIRLSCRIPT Rotak. So let's have a short quiz on the topic you just learned. Uh, uh, okay, let me just share my screen. Wait. So my screen is visible.
Yeah, Tritika, it is visible.
Okay. So you must be seeing a pin.
Tritika, you have stopped the screen sharing.
Now is it visible?
Yeah, yeah. Now it is.
Okay. You have to just visit on kahoot.it, and enter the pin that's visible on your screen right now. I'm waiting, guys. Do it ASAP. Also, the winner will get a shout out on our GS Rohtak social pages. So just join in, guys. It will be a fun quiz and short also, just 5 questions.
We will wait for 2 more minutes, then we will
Yeah, yeah.
start.
Okay.
I am seeing a very creative names. क्या करना है जानते and contra ITR Mona. Okay, and there was one ASAP. Okay, as soon as possible.
Shall I start or wait?
We have 29 live viewers and 17 players, so you can wait for 1 more minute.
Okay, okay.
18 players now. 19. Oh, Raja. We have a queen right now with us. Okay, Kritika, you can start now. I think. Nahi. Okay, Rudraj have come. Okay, start now.
Okay. Which file is responsible for startup of Angular 2 project? Two answers, three, four. So we have 10 correct answers. And Karthik is leading right now. Angular JS 2.0 is A. 13 correct answers. Eternal is on lead right now. Which of the following filter is used to convert input to all uppercase? Obviously, it's uppercase. Subhash. To start working with Angular 2, we need to install the components. We have to just check the correct option. Six correct answers. Subhash has made a streak. True or false? Angular 2 still does not provide nested components. 12 correct answers. So this is our podium. Eternal, Subhash, and Koina. Runners up are Swati and Isa.
And guys, you can DM us on WhatsApp or Instagram. Uh, there is a page GIRLSCRIPT Rohtak on Instagram. You can DM us and we will give you the shootout. So thanks all. It was a really a good session on Teachers Day, and we got a wonderful teacher with us. So thanks everyone.